Hey, welcome back to Werx on the Web. My name is Eric Gerritson, the Innovation Principal here at MGM Werx in Montgomery, Alabama. And with me today is Col Lee Gentile. Colonel, could you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everybody, Lee Gentile. I'm the Commandant of Air Command and Staff College at Air University here at Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery, Alabama.
Well, thank you for joining me today. Now, I know that we had talked about this in the past, but could you also explain the e-school portion of what you do as the commander?
Yeah, as the Commandant, I've got two schools that I'm responsible for. I have the in-residence Air Command and Staff College, which educates mid-grade officers, primarily majors, on air-minded joint operations. And then the other half of the college is the e-school of graduate professional military education, which is responsible for all officer distance learning, to include Squadron Officer School, which focuses on captains, Air Command and Staff College, which focuses on majors, Air War College, which focuses on lieutenant colonels and colonels. And then I have the online master's program, which is primarily for majors, but we do have several lieutenant colonels, and civilians that take that program. And then the last program we have is Flight Commander's Edge, which is primarily focused on our enlisted flight chiefs, our civil service flight chiefs, and then our company grade officer flight commanders to make them better frontline leaders.
I don't understand where you find the time. That's a lot of jobs that you're responsible for. But I'll tell you, I was going through your basically your organizational chart a couple minutes ago, and you have some amazing people working with you and working for you in your organization. I don't know. There's no limit to where you can go. And that's really what I want to talk about, because there needs to be no limit on the things that you're trying to do. But we'll start with a little bit with your background. I noticed in your biography that you had only done SOS, really coming to Maxwell Air Force Base, but most of the rest of your PME was done either with the Navy or the Army. How has that shaped you as a leader, as an Air Force leader, joint leader? How has that shaped you?
Sure. Now, interestingly enough, you mentioned I've only been in residence for Squadron Officer School here at Maxwell, but I completed both Air Command and Staff College and Air War College distance education before going to Naval Command and Staff College and then the School of Advanced Military Studies fellowship program for my senior developmental education. So I was able to get my air-minded education via distance learning before going and getting a maritime-focused education as a major, and then a land-focused education as a lieutenant colonel. So I feel like that has prepared me for this particular job, because I can speak Navy, I can speak Army, I can speak Marines, I obviously understand the Air Force, and so I'm able to kind of help connect the dots as we really focus on what we're calling joint all-domain operations. So I feel that my education background has really prepared me well for my current role as a Commandant.
Absolutely. Having worked for the Army, deployed with the Army to Iraq, worked for the Guard, it was the Army Guard, not so much the Air Guard. I understand the value of beginning to understand sister services and how different they are, and how you just can't throw them all into the same bag and say, you do this and you do this. The joint all-domain issue, I mean, is so big right now. So which leads me to my next question. So some of the greatest minds on joint all-domain, command and control, and so forth and so on in the Air Force are here at Air University.
They are.
And to be able to teach that with the technologies we have today is very difficult, because not everybody has your experience. So we're going to have to draw upon technologies to try and lay this out for future leaders on how to work within the joint all-domain world. So instead of having a sandbox or sand table or putting it up on a whiteboard, what do you envision for technologies coming to the classroom that can help not only with JADA, but with other kinds of education, PME within Air University?
Sure. Some of the technologies that I see being incredibly impactful as we're trying to educate folks in those various domains, virtual reality and augmented reality. Those are the two things that jump to mind.
Right.
Matter of fact, a week and a half ago, I was doing an immersion using virtual reality And we used a program that had a virtual reality makeup of a Lancaster bomber doing a bombing run on Berlin. And now the interesting thing is, Eric, this was a actual recording of a bombing mission of Berlin in a Lancaster bomber from 1942. And then they did the graphical remake of the cockpit. And it is so realistic that I found myself on my hands and knees crawling through the bomber to go between the different stations. And then when the flak was going off around me, I found myself flinching as the explosions, I could see the explosions out of the corner of my eye. Why is that important? Experiential learning is critical for adults. Yes. To be able to immerse in an environment to understand the complexities of the land domain, the maritime domain, air, soon space, cyber, and then to be able to connect all of that. Yes, we should not get away from your traditional reading and lectures. They're not replacive technologies. They're additive technologies to improve the experience.
Oh, absolutely. Experiential learning. One of the things that I've done in the past also is when you can connect the physical movements with ideas and things in the brain, and you hit the affective and you hit other domains, learning is taking place.
It is.
And this new generation of airmen coming in, whether on the officer side or the enlisted side, they're looking for technologies. They're looking for things to come into the classroom. And when they step foot, perhaps in an AU classroom, in an ATC classroom, and they see a whiteboard and desks, they're probably scratching their head going, where's the technology?
Sure.
This is the Air Force. We should be the most technological advanced classroom, I would think, that's out there. So with that said, I know that you were a pilot. What aircraft did you fly?
So I flew 4 different airplanes. Okay. I guess 5. So I was a T-37 instructor pilot. I flew the A-10 as a T-6 instructor pilot, and then I also flew the T-38 and the T-1.
Wow. So you must have got a lot of drinks at the bar with the Army guys, right? I mean, they must have loved you as an A-10 pilot. That's all I hear from the Army guys. The Blackhawks not the Blackhawks, excuse me, the Apaches are great, but the A-10 is where it's at.
Sure.
And, so thank you for your service there. All right. So the next question is, what is it you want to do with your experience as a pilot, with your experience as a commander, with your current billet that you're in, e-schools and in-person schools? What is your vision for the future of Air University classrooms?
Yeah, we're going through that right now. We're put in place an initiative we call it the Classroom of the Future. Right. And I know this has been done before, but I'm actually putting money against it. And as any good, they'll tell you, when you put money against something, that means that you're really serious about it.
Right.
So I've given it over to my 2 student squadron commanders and given them some funds to go find the best in show when it comes to technology and classroom structure. And when they say technology, most folks immediately go to electronics, but there are other technologies out there. Sure. Chairs, desks, whiteboards, TVs, IT, computers. The list goes on and on. So we're trying to find the best way to deliver content in as many different ways as we can, and that is, again, it's learner-centric model. It's a learner-centric model. So everybody learns differently.
Yes.
I have my youngest daughter's dyslexic, and for her, reading a book is extremely difficult. She doesn't learn well that way. She has to use a different technology.
Right.
And as we look at people, everybody learns slightly differently. So we want to make sure we provide as many avenues as we can to provide that world-class education, that experiential learning that adults need to really understand and grasp a concept.
So let me share a piece of technology with you. Sorry, I have to step off camera to get it. And you may laugh a little bit when I put these on. If you remember Urkel,
Yes.
and his big old glasses.
And your augmented reality glasses, those are awesome.
They look like augmented reality, but they have no lenses, no anything in them. So this is the first generation prototype. They now have a newer generation prototype that's a lot smaller. Basically, this is a pair of glasses with, you may be able to, oh, my hands are in the way. Well, diodes right there on the right and on the left-hand side. And basically what they're for, and this is through science and technology and research about how to reduce cognitive loads in people who wear them. And in fact, the researcher who came up with this is out of Huntsville, Alabama, and it's been validated by the two premier researchers on cognitive load in the world. And basically what it is those diodes flash lights when you're wearing those glasses, and it tells your brain, tells the wearer, calm down. Everything's good. You don't have any threats around you, whatever it may be. Believe me, I don't understand how it works, but it tells your brain to calm down so that you're able to receive more and retain more. Again, it's proven science now, which is fantastic. Now, the reason I share this with you is because when you talk about technologies, you're right. It's not just tools in the classroom. It's tools for the student in their hands. I think about your daughter. Could something like this support your daughter? Perhaps it could. It could talk to her brain. The beauty of this is that Bevilacqua Research Corporation out of Huntsville, Alabama, will be one of the presenters at our October 27th PME Future Technology Showcase, which you've so graciously said that you would take part in as one of our speakers. And they're going to be demonstrating those glasses and have them available for people to touch and try on and so forth and so on. And for all the gamers out there, gamers wear these glasses too. And it is shown that their gaming scores increase up to 10% while wearing these glasses. Fascinating. Don't understand it, but we need to have these kind of things in the classroom, or at least discuss having these kind of things in the classroom so that we can help our students, not just today, but the students of the future. So, Colonel, what would you tell Air University students, what would you tell AETC leadership and Air University leadership about technologies and the value of technology and why we need to pursue it?
Sure. I think most of the leaders in AETC and Air University understand the positive impacts that technology has. When you look at initiatives like pilot training next, maintenance next, various things going on around the command where we're bringing in these new technologies. And 3 years ago, when I kind of joined the team and started using these technologies, I didn't really understand the technology or the impact that it could have.
Right.
But we've really evolved in the last 3 years, and you start to see how these things can be used. You start to envision the future of this technology as it continues to advance. And a lot of these things are in their nascent stage right now, which does frustrate people. But if we continue to stay persistent, we keep the vision going, we let industry know what it is we need, they can advance this technology very, very quickly. And I tell you, I think the future for this stuff is almost boundless.
Yes.
Give you a couple of examples. One, we were using this virtual reality technology at pilot training, and what we were using it for was to replace what we call chair flying, which until 3 years ago, what chair flying was is a student would sit down in front of a piece of paper. It had a mock-up of all the switches in the cockpit, and then it would have a plunger, and you would practice your checklists, you practice your procedures, but you had to do it all visually. And so, I mean, we're in 2017, and we're still using paper mock-ups. It's the same thing that we did back in the 1960s.
Right.
But we've got this virtual reality headset now that allows us to do the same thing, to do chair flying, but in a real-time environment with real reactions and real consequences for when you do things right and when you do things wrong. And that what we saw was a dramatic improvement in a student's performance early in the program.
Right.
And that allowed us to focus as instructors on more advanced techniques, more advanced instruction, so that your time with the student was actually more valuable.
Mm-hmm.
The other day, I mentioned that I was in a Lancaster bomber. After that, we went into a virtual reality world where we had full-on avatars, and we actually had graphs of our face. So they took pictures and then graphed it over our avatar. And I'm telling you, Eric, we would be in this, and you and I would think we were in the same room. It had mannerisms. You could see the person's mouth moving. We walked on the moon. We did a three-dimensional battle space with tanks and airplanes. Like, there is some real value in this technology if we're willing to go try and keep trying until we succeed.
Absolutely. Well, I believe it's the right time. And I believe you're the right person, or one of the right people in the larger picture at Air University and AETC. And so I'm excited that you're here. I'm excited that we're no longer, as when I was a kid, using a light bright. If you remember a light bright, using a light bright, and we'd make a globe, and we'd play Star Trek in the hallway. I mean, that was our training. And sadly, you're explaining it's not a whole lot different not too long ago. And we're now making advances, and I'm excited you're a champion for these advances, and you're going to do great things here at Air University, and we're looking forward to partnering with you here at MGM Werx and through our whole Defense Werx ecosystem. We're excited that you're here, sir. We're thanking you in advance for what you're going to do, and we just really appreciate all that you have done. We welcome you to Air University, and thank you very much, sir, for your time. Really appreciate you being here today. Colonel, have a great day.